Hey, it's Chad. Welcome to my backyard. Tonight, I'm gonna host a little fireside chat. I feel like I need to get some things off my chest, and it's all about what should be considered the hottest movie of the summer. Welcome to my fire pit. This is my place to decompress, gather myself, and get a little time. And right now I kind of need it, because I went and saw what is the hottest movie of the summer, no matter what anybody writes. I went and saw The Sound of Freedom, released by Angel Studios. And Angel Studios, they have quite a track record with me. They've built up a really good track record. Shows like The Chosen and the Wingfeather Saga and The Testament. His Only Son. Yeah, those have all been in my house a lot, and we've rewatched a lot. I don't know that I'll rewatch The Sound of Freedom, because it was kind of a tough movie for me. And that's why I kind of wanted to sit and have this fireside chat. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about it. The emotionality of this movie started for me, truthfully, several years ago, but within the last few days, it started for me on Tuesday. By the way, this is being recorded on a Sunday night. And on Tuesday is when the cynic in me said, yeah, sure, they're giving away free tickets. Let's really see. So I signed up. About 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, I went to the website and I gave them my information and my email, which, because I'm an Angel Studios supporter, full disclosure right there, right? They already had my email, so it was a really easy process. I got an email that told me, and this was again Tuesday morning, that there were somewhere around 30,557 people waiting in line in front of me for a free ticket to see The Sound of Freedom. When I saw that number, I said to myself, there's just no way. When the average movie ticket is 13, 14, 15, 16, 20. That's a heck of a lot of money to raise. And movies change every Thursday around here. So I really didn't figure I'd be getting to see the film. Well, guess what? 24 hours later, I had the notice in my email box giving me the code. Sorry, a little smoke in the eye. Giving me the code to reserve my seat. I chose to go see this movie in Wichita, Kansas, 35 minutes from my home. I can't tell you how thankful I am that there are people out there that are willing to pay it forward, in the words of Angel Studios. Somebody bought my ticket. And I've bought the DVDs for The Chosen and whatever else, but people have been funding those live streams. People have been funding those things. And I'm so thankful that people are willing to do that. My friends and family know that I work 2 jobs, and my second job is community corrections, juvenile intake. And that's an important factor when I react to The Sound of Freedom, because I've got a story to tell, and I hope you're willing to listen. I walked out of The Sound of Freedom nearly weeping. When I look back over time and I think about movies that have moved me, really moved me, like to the point of weeping, being numb for days, those kinds of things, there's really only one that has done that to me, and that was The Passion of Christ. This one came close to that emotion. Real close. The reason it came so close was about 3 years ago. I was on call, just like I am this weekend. And it was late at night, and the phone rang. Dispatch said, "Sorry to wake you, Chad, but NPD is requesting an intake." They've found a runaway. Looks like in the CAD they found this runaway at the truck stop, and they need your help placing this girl. So I went, and I can tell you, I can still see her beautiful blue eyes. Some of the most beautiful blue eyes I've ever seen on a human being. And I can still see her blonde, messy hair. They walked her into my office, and it had been obvious she'd been through it. So I asked her story. She was unhappy. She had been bounced around from foster placement to foster placement, and the latest was a group home in a city about 30 to 35 minutes from here. She didn't like that group home. So earlier that day, she walked out of it. She wanted to go somewhere else. You know, she thought it was just a coincidence that there were two guys with a car just up the block, willing to give her a ride. And they had promised to figure out a way to go back and get her stuff from the group home. Truth is, they were never interested in that. She didn't know that. She didn't know what they were interested in. But they didn't go get her stuff. They took off. They took off driving. They left town, and they were on the interstate, and they were hauling. One of those guys decided he needed to use the bathroom, maybe grab a bite to eat, so it's like, hey, let's just stop at this truck stop up ahead. Thank God they did. They stopped at that truck stop, and somebody thought things looked suspicious and things just weren't right. So they called the cops. 2 officers from the Newton Police Department went to the truck stop, located the girl, asked her name, double-checked NCIC, and she was listed as a runaway. In discussing it with her and the 2 men, it was obvious that she didn't know who they were. She didn't know why they had picked her up. All she knew is that they were offering her a ride. So they took her into custody, specifically police protective custody, and that means they brought her to me. They brought her to me for intake. It didn't take me long in talking to her to figure out what was really up. Yeah, those guys had plans for her, and they weren't good. At the bare minimum, we saved that girl from being raped. But I truly believe we also saved her from being sold. And that's really the short version. That night was something special. So I went and I responded as I always did. Went down into the juvenile intake office and sat and was waiting. I was waiting on them to finish the interview process that they do for the criminal parts and bring the kid to me. While I was waiting, I started listening to my favorite song at the time. A song called Priceless by For King and Country. Google that one. I see you dressed in white. Every wrong made right. Oh, so priceless. That song was playing on my phone when they walked her in. I shut the music off. She sat down. We started the intake process. That means that officers recapped how they came to find her, where they came to find her, and what they believed. And they also let me know that she was in DCF custody and DCF would be in charge of taking her from here. I just needed to call the right people and make the right arrangements. And on this particular night, when I did that, that meant that because of where they were going to send their person from, we had about a 2 to 3 hour wait. She asked me, and I'll never forget how that all went down. She asked me, she says, it's going to be a while, and I haven't slept in a while. Would it be all right if I just laid down on the floor to sleep? Of course I said yes. And she said, you got any way to play some music to try and help me get to sleep? And I was like, the only thing I got is my phone. Battery's at about half. I don't know. But if you want to listen to it, that'd be fine. And I plugged in some headphones, and then she said, and what was that you were listening to when I walked in? And I told her, it's a group called King and Country, and it's one of my favorite songs right now. She's like, looked at me and said, can you pull that up and start it playing? And I said, sure. And then she said, and can you hit repeat? Because I think I want to listen to it more than once. Now, she hadn't heard much of this song, just a little. So I handed her the phone, she put in the headphones, and she laid down on the floor. And she went to sleep. That song was on repeat when the phone did die from the battery going out. And she just slept. But it wasn't a restful sleep. She would talk in her sleep. It was obvious there was a lot of past trauma in this girl. And I heard her say, I don't know what you want from me, and I don't know who you are. And just things like that. And then she woke up. And I said, hey, it sounds like you were having quite some dreams, some really interesting dreams. She said, yeah. Yeah, I had a very interesting dream. So she described her dream to me. And in her dream, she saw a man in long flowing robes with long hair, olive skin, and a big nose. And he was coming to her and saying, follow me. And she was running away from him. Well, I think I know who that man was, and I told her that night, the next time you have a dream like that, you ask that man who he is and what he wants. And I said, you need to always ask men who they are and what they want. Well, I know who was in that dream with her. She had gone to sleep listening to music that spoke directly to her soul, written by Christians. That's a night I will never forget. It's the night that right here in Newton, Kansas, a beautiful, blonde-haired, blue-eyed teenage girl was rescued from what was going to be, at a bare minimum, the worst night of her life, and one that could have led to a horrible life. I spent 2 hours and 20 minutes in a movie theater flashing back to that night. Sex trafficking is real. There's no two ways about it. I don't care what some movie reviewer has to say on the subject. And I am really glad that Angel Studios put this movie out. If you haven't seen it, you need to. As long as it's not going to cause you long-term emotional problems. Looks like the fire's about going out, and it's time for me to go to bed. I hope you enjoyed our fireside chat.